Hey, what's going on, everybody? Today we are looking at the Operation Monster Force Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Trooper. The name is a mouthful, but the figure is pretty awesome. Monster Force is a line that I didn't know how much I was going to get into. I mean, I remember seeing the first sort of news about them, the first pre-orders going up. Of course, for Wave 1, this is, of course, a Wave 1 figure. Pre-orders went up for Wave 1. They looked really good. I didn't pre-order anything. Pre-orders went up for Wave 2. You know, I started seeing more of what they were doing. I started getting a better idea of what the line was all about. And by the time they revealed the Kilowog, the werewolf warrior, I was in. So far, I've only gotten this one, and then the army builder on the opposite side. But I'm very, very excited to get these figures and start getting into this line. One thing that I really, really like about this line is that they're kind of taking like Universal monsters and making them G.I. Joes, if that makes sense. That's kind of how I'm looking at this. You know, at first I was sort of like, okay, you got, you know, like zombie kind of troopers and vampire kind of troopers. That's cool, but it wasn't enough. Then, you know, they just started adding. So, you know, we got the Pharaoh type and the vampire type in Wave 1. And then we got, you know, the Frankenstein type and the Invisible Man type in Wave 2 with Donner Party and Eraser. And, you know, as I said, then we got, you know, a vampire, or sorry, then we got the werewolf. And, you know, all of a sudden, this line is sort of filling out. And the concept of it, the idea of it is just a ton of fun. And I'm hoping that the figures are going to be the same. So, let's take a look at the packaging before I get this guy out of the box. So you get a nice big picture of what you're getting on the inside. It is kind of weird because it just says Operation Monster Force. I kept sort of having false starts recording this because I kept forgetting what the name was. But the name is actually on the side. So on the side, there we go. It's a Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Trooper. You got Operation Monster Force logo at the top there. The number 3, so all the figures are actually numbered, which is kind of cool. The Fresh Monkey Fiction logo there, as well as the website. On the back, we get another picture of the figure, and it says, "The Forgotten King has returned." And there's sort of a rundown of roughly, you know, what the line is about. There's a really nice cross-sell with all the figures from Wave 1. You know, interesting bits of information there about sort of who's involved. So Monster Force created by Sean Rourke and Bill Murphy. Art direction, Chris Scott. 3D renders, Adrian Milton. Packaging design, Jennifer Carbaha. I can't pronounce that. But yeah, just a pretty straightforward you know, thing going on here. Nothing crazy. You get the name on the other side as well. You get Big Bad Workshop. But then we get, through the magic of a little Velcro closure here, we get an opening box which gives us basically a page of a comic book here. So you get the Forgotten King and sort of what's going on, where do these troopers come from, why do these troopers exist, which is actually really, really cool. And then a big open window where you can see the figure there. Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Trooper, looking fantastic in there with his vampire head and his alternate heads. Packaging is great. But I don't collect packaging, I collect figures, so let's get this guy out of the box. All right, so first impressions out of the box. This guy is very, very cool. I am really, really digging this. The sculpt is good, the paint looks good, the articulation looks good. I have zero complaints. I have one nitpick, but we'll get to that in a minute. Altogether, as I said, the design and sort of aesthetic of this figure is fantastic. Really, really digging it. He's got some sort of subtle vampiric qualities. If you look really close, you can see that he's kind of got some fangs. His ears are a little pointier than, a human ear, I suppose, would be. But the paint apps are very, very good. Very clean, very well done. Sculpt wise, I mean, come on, look at all this stuff that's going on the vest, on the secondary there. Now, the basic figure is pretty straightforward. It's just sort of your basic military figure, but then he does have, these sculpted bracers on. He's got sculpted knee pads. He's got boots with plenty of detail. And as I said, altogether, just a very, very well executed figure. The articulation scheme is as you would expect from these. If you want articulation, there's lots of videos that will show you. I'm not going to bother with that. I'm going to spend way more time on the accessories. The figure looks stunning, but I think it really gets highlighted when you sort of dig deep into the accessories, and there's a ton of accessories. Now, my only nitpick, as I mentioned, the paint apps are fantastic, but there's a lot going on paint-wise, and it's a little more than I typically like. I like my toys to look a little bit more like toys. There's a lot of washes. There's a lot of sort of extra layers to kind of dirty this guy up and grimy this guy up, which is fine. It works for the figure. I could have maybe been happy with about 10% less in terms of the deco, in terms of just the extra details that they've gone with. The boot is a good example. I mean, there's a lot going on there. There's a lot of dirt, a lot of grime. And it's not that it's bad. As I said, it's executed well. The figure looks fantastic, but there's a few places where I feel like it's just too much. It's just it's more than is necessary. And if you were, say, to want to customize this, there's a lot that you'd have to be sort of painting over or adding details on top of. So that's for me, as I said, my little nitpick. I know a lot of people are going to love that though, because this is a very well executed and actualized figure where, the sort of real world dirt and grime is very much apparent on there. It's just maybe more than I would have liked personally. But anyway, as I said, this figure is really going to shine when we get the accessories on him. So let's take a look at the accessories. All right, so starting as I often do with the extra hands, whenever there are any, we get a few sets of extra hands. So we get just the standard C grip hands on the figure out of the box. Then we get a set of fists. We get trigger finger hands. These are on a horizontal joint as well, which is good for a pistol gripping hand to have it horizontal. The standard gripping hands are vertical. Then we get an open expressive hand, which is always kind of a bonus. With these figures, it kind of works really well too, because then you can sort of have them holding things that are a little bit bigger, in the palm of their hand, or sort of grabbing something, grabbing an arm, or grabbing a throat, whatever the need may be for this vampire soldier. There's a ton of accessories here. I don't know what to do next. I don't know what to look at next. Let's take a look at the heads, actually. You get a fully helmeted head with the nicely painted red eyes. This is a really, really cool sculpt. There's a lot of detail here, a lot of design work. Again, paint apps are pretty good. There's sort of a gunmetal underneath, like a navy blue. There's a little bit of green on the buckle there, the strap. There's a lot of fine detail work that the paint really picks up. Altogether, a very, very nice head. We get another head. So this is another helmeted head, but this is a masked helmeted head. So the visor slides up. You get a very angry looking vampire in there. But the deco on this is really, really cool. I'm sort of digging the fanged vampire looking motif on there. Again, tons of paint app, tons of wash, very grimy and gritty. And again, if that's what you're into, you're probably gonna love this. If that's not what you're into, it might be a little bit much. As I said, I would like it toned down about 10%, but altogether it looks really, really good for what it is. You also get an alternate visor for the helmet, so this sort of slides down in place of the other one if you want to go that route. A little less coverage. You still don't see the face, but it's just a little less coverage than you get on there. We get a set of shoulder pads, so these are just going to slide over the arm and just sit nicely on the shoulder. Very cool. Again, well sculpted, well designed, well painted. We get a couple of they go on the thigh. What do you want to call them? These slip over the leg and they'll go on the thigh. They have ports in there as well. What are you going to use the ports for, you might ask? Well, let me tell you. There is a whole bunch of little bags and pouches and things like that. And we'll get to those in a minute. I'll do the weapons first and sort of these little accessories first. So we get a knife. It is very, very nicely painted. So the blade, the sort of sharp edge of the blade is silver. The rest of the blade is black. You get a brown painted handle, which looks really, really good. Again, just really great attention to detail. Plenty of paint, plenty of cool stuff to look at. You get a teeny tiny pistol. Now this little pistol has a red trigger. There's a couple little hits of red paint on it. This is like the only thing that doesn't have really good paint apps. That's a little sloppy, but I mean, it's such a little detail. I'm not really that upset. Nobody's perfect. You can't get it right every time. A bigger pistol. Again, red trigger. Again, some red details. Cleaner on that one, though, so that's good. But again, I'm not really paying that close attention to that. We get this automatic-looking weapon, semi-automatic. I don't know. This looks like it could be a real-world thing. Feel free to let me know what it is. Not that it makes any difference to me. It looks pretty cool. And again, painted. And then there's a wash on top of that, so it's definitely sort of a used weapon, gritty and grimy. We get a walkie-talkie or satellite phone or something like that. I'm sure, again, this is based on something real world because it is sort of quite specific. Where are you going to put all that stuff, you might ask? Well, before that, there's also a couple spare clips to go with the automatic weapon there. Where might you put all this stuff? I hear you saying in the comments or as you're watching the screen. Well, funny you should ask. There's a spot on the web gear, the chest gear there, where you can put the small pistol. But there's also a second option for that, and this one actually has little notches in it. Once it's mounted on the vest, it sits nice and flush, but there's still a little bit of a gap there. So you can get the clips in there if you wanted to go that route. Now, if you didn't want to go that route, but you still wanted to carry the clips, there's also two of these, and these are all going to have pegs on the back so that they can plug into the vest in a couple different spots, or into the thigh piece there. So it's all very well thought out, very well executed. There is a sheath for the knife. There's so much stuff with this figure. There is a little pouch, doesn't open, doesn't fit anything in it. So if you just want more pouches, you're pretty well covered here as well. There is a holster for the larger pistol. Again, I think you could port that in where you like, but for me, that's definitely going to go on the thigh. We get these little, smoke grenades or flash grenades or something like that. 3 of them on a little sculpted piece with a peg on the back. That, I don't know where I'm going to put that. I think I'm going to have to mess around with this thing. I'm also thinking, you know, having all this out of the package, there's a whole bunch of potential for having an army built with figures and soldiers that don't necessarily match each other. You know, you can have quite a bit of variety if you really want to, with the 3 alternate heads, kind of 4 if you include the alternate mask. If you want them to all kind of look the same, you know, you pick a helmet and away you go. This helmet especially, I think you could army build to your heart's content. And then you could make the trooper look a little heavier, a little lighter, depending on what you want. You know, this is going to be heavier. That's going to be a little bit lighter. You could go even lighter too and pull that piece off and just run, you know, a couple pouches, the little pouch, and you say the phone fits in there as well. So, you know, all of this is really, really well thought out. One last thing that you get as an accessory, you actually get blast effects. So you get sort of a large blast effect. It's not that big. I mean, it's standard-ish. You get a long blast effect. You get a medium length, medium sort of thickness blast effect. And, of course, you get the smoking gun sort of after blast effect, which is very, very cool. So a ton of stuff in there, as I said. And I think the real fun with these is that it really is an army builder. You know, this gives you options. You can build, you know, all your troopers the same. You could have all your troopers different. I have no idea. I mean, I could do the math. It's not really that complicated, but I you know, how many combinations could you possibly get from this? And then on top of that, you know, there's another army builder, just a different deco. For the baddies, you know, there's 3 army builders and different colors and, you know, extra heads and all that kind of stuff. So this line is very much geared towards those who may want 37 of these vampire troopers, because they're really, really giving you a lot of different options. And you get a stand that also doubles as a tombstone, which is very, very cool. I'll be honest, I don't know which combination I'm gonna like the most. So I'm gonna have to take a few minutes to really try some of these out and see if there's a combination that really stands out. I'm leaning towards, you know, lighter. I'm leaning towards carrying everything but still being nice and mobile and stuff like that. But I'm also leaning towards getting at least another one to go heavy. But anyway, let me get this guy geared up and posed up and give my final thoughts. All right, so here is the Operation Monster Force Delta Red Nocturnal Operations Trooper, all geared up and a little bit posed up. This is a really, really phenomenal figure. This is a great figure. I'm really, really digging this. The sort of accessories, like the amount of accessories, the amount of, not customization, but the amount of sort of personalization that you can put into the figure with just how many options you have is a ton of fun. You know, I kind of put every pouch and everything sort of in every spot and sort of came up with this. I do think I want another one of these because I do want to do like a heavy version. You know, I didn't use these sort of grenades or whatever they are, and then there's sort of a heavier part for the vest. I didn't use the helmeted head. That helmeted head looks phenomenal on the figure. So does that one, but you know, that one's really good. But you know, for me personally, like the unhelmeted vampire soldier sculpt is probably my favorite. But altogether, as I said, a very, very good figure, well executed figure. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that if the rest of the figures are this good, and if they continue to make figures that are this good, I think this line might be a success. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up. If you want to see more, please subscribe. And if you don't want to miss future videos, hit that bell icon to get notifications. Till next time. Bye bye.